Now, in South Africa, we rely heavily on coal for our electricity generation. So will we follow the same trend as many of the Western countries who are now turning to renewable energy sources? Let's talk about this with the SA Wind and Energy Association's chairperson, Tebogo Mavundlela. Tebogo, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for your time this morning. So let's talk about where we fit into the picture at the moment. I mean, we know places like the US are sort of well on their way. They seem to understand what they need to do and are doing it. Where do we fit into the picture?
So, I mean, we're following pretty much the same trend. So, I mean, first and foremost, it's about climate change. I mean, the latest reports by scientists say that we need to cut our carbon emissions by 45%. And that's very, very ambitious. So that's why you can see activity around the world where there is concerted effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Another important factor of that is obviously pricing. So, you know, the price of solar and wind has dropped dramatically. You know, in a local context, what we have seen is the price drop of, you know, over 50%. So prices have dropped from, let's say, R1.50 to about 70 cents, which has made renewables very, very competitive and comparable to new build coal.
Okay, so people can't use the excuse of for me to put in the solar, the panels and all of that. It's way too expensive. So what's stopping us from actually just being brave and going ahead and taking the chance and doing this?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we are slowly moving in the right direction. I mean, there was a period where there was a lack of activity in this country in terms of renewable uptake. I mean, we all remember the famous 2-year impasse where there were committed projects that were not signed. But you know, last year there was the draft electricity plan, if I can call that, that was released by the Department of Energy. And I mean, that's a positive signal. I mean, the last time we had, you know, the last electricity plan was actually in 2010, and a lot has obviously changed ever since then. So I mean, I think there's a renewed will, and there's been a, you know, let's say a conversation and a communication to say that, you know, let's actually take this forward.
Well, I'm going to be completely suspicious and paranoid, and that's where this question is coming from. How much of what we know or what we don't know about renewables, about solar and wind, is due to political manipulation, so that we were made to be reliant on coal to benefit a few, also in terms of that big nuclear deal that's happening, not happening, happening, not happening. How much of that was manipulation of that system, so that a few would benefit and that we wouldn't, you know, even consider going the renewable route?
Look, I mean, as a start, I think the energy sector is very complicated.
Yeah.
And it touches on you know, all aspects of the economy, you know, from social to environment, you know, to economic. And I think what's missing from, you know, this conversation is just transparency and also a dialogue between the respective you know, parties in the energy sector to say, you know, let's have a conversation, let's find a solution. I mean, definitely from a South African Wind Energy Association perspective, I mean, that's, you know, we are open to a dialogue. You know, this energy transition is complicated. I mean, if it was easy, it would have happened easily in this country. It would have, and I mean, other parts of the world are also still having challenges. But, you know, the moment you can have and be committed to a transparent conversation, we can find a solution.
So what's the urgency? I mean, when we think here, especially about coal supply, you sort of have a little bit of a panic to say, when are we going to run out? When is it going to be the absolute that, you know, we have to start considering? How urgently do we need to be considering and making changes?
I mean, it is quite urgent. We've moved from, you know, a couple of years ago to, you know, we need to be conscious about climate change, you know, sooner rather than later, you know, to we actually need to do something right now. I mean, reports vary to say, you know, we've got 12 years to actually make a real change to, you know, to run away climate change. So I mean, I'd say it's pretty urgent, and then as I said, it's a complicated issue. And you know, someone that I respect and who I think is very clever has said, you know, we can have a managed transition, and where we can plan, you know, or we can delay and have a chaotic transition.
Okay, well, how encouraging that is. But for anybody who wants to find out more, Tebogo, anybody who needs to know, who wants to get involved, maybe try cover, who do they contact? Where do they find all of this information? They come to you?
Sure. I mean, so, I mean, the South African Wind Energy Association, I think look it up. Online is easy to find. And, you know, we're a small team of various representing various industry players. with a varied skill. And as I said, we're open to dialogue and communication and solutions.
Okay, so we need to slash our dependence on coal. That's the bottom line.
We need an energy mix. We need an energy mix.
And okay, well, thanks very much. Let's wait and see. 12 years, you said, okay? All right, I'll still be around to see that happen. The SA Wind and Energy Association's Tebogo Movundlela here with us this morning.